No justice, no peace.
In the spring of 2025, the streets of America echoed with the sound of resistance. From college campuses to corporate boardrooms, from New York to Oakland, a new wave of protests surged across the nation. What were they fighting for? What does it say about the state of America today? The protests didn't come out of nowhere. They were the result of years, decades of tension, frustration, and growing disconnect between power and the people. Dr. Maria Elix, political analyst, says, "We saw a pattern: economic inequality, racial injustice, political polarization, and no serious reform. When tensions stay buried, they eventually explode." In March 2025, students across America staged sit-ins and walkouts, demanding their university divert from companies linked to the war in Gaza. What began as a few voices soon became thousands. Student protesters says, "We are not just here for Gaza. We are here because our institution profit from pain here and abroad. Our priority is safety and free speech, but we cannot allow disruption to academic operations." Civil rights lawyers Michael Dew and others says the use of forces was disproportionate. These were non-violent demonstrators exercising constitutional rights. We were not part of history, just like the anti-apartheid protests in the 80s, as student organizers proclaimed. The war in Gaza, now it's the second year, has become a moral fault line for America. Criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitism. In fact, many Jews are out here with us. Some rhetoric has crossed into anti-Semitism. We must be vigilant. We are tired of being silenced, of being called terrorists for wanting peace and justice. As protests grew, so did tension fights broke out. Threats were made, and once again, America was forced to confront the limit of free speech. Meanwhile, another kind of protest was brewing in warehouses, hospitals, and airports. One nurse in Chicago said, "We are overworked, underpaid, and disrespected. Enough is enough." Another Amazon worker in Atlanta also said, "It is not just about the money, it's about dignity." In May 2025, over 3,000 workers walked off the job in the largest coordinated strike since the 1970s. Their demands, living wages, safe conditions, are a voice at the table. A nation built by labor was finally hearing from its workers. But how does a democracy respond to the dissent? Oakland spokesperson says, "What we saw was an escalation: pepper spray, riot shields, surveillance drones. Peaceful protesters were met with military tactics." Police senior rep says, "Our officers are under pressure. They have responded when protests threaten public order." In Atlanta, a protest turned violent. Police claimed self-defense, but video evidence showed unarmed demonstrators being struck and dragged. "We were just singing, and then they changed." That's a protester who was injured. With so many voices shouting, who is going to be heard? In America right now, mainstream media are showing broken windows and glasses, but social media is showing broken people of America. Online, the protests trended for weeks, but narrative crashed. Influencers on TikTok calls out the government. If you are not speaking up, you are part of the problem. These are the entitled kids who don't understand the real world. In the battle for truth, facts got blurry and emotions rank high. We hear the concerns. We believe in peaceful protests, but we must also protect safety and law, as the former president of the United States of America President Biden says. The administration walked a fine line acknowledging pain, denouncing violence, and trying not to alienate young voters ahead of the 2026 elections. Congresswoman Ayanna Pierce says you cannot gas children and call it democracy. And Senator Thomas Gaines also says law and order is not optional, it's fundamental. The chant may fade, the tent may come to down, but the question remains, what does it mean to be free? Whose voices matters? What kind of a country do they want? And some of the voices says, this is just the beginning. I want my children to live in truth. We are not afraid anymore. In the end, the protest is not chaos. It is a democracy in motion, loud, imperfect, unrelenting. Over 1,200 protests occurred across the US in the first half of 2025 alone. Los Angeles, May 2025, a city in flames, what began as a peaceful protest quickly turned into chaos, looting, fires, clashes with police, and soon a presidential order to deploy National Guard. This is the story of a city pushed to the brink and a nation asking what led us here. It began on May 11th. A video went viral. Another armed black teenager, Marcus Bell, shot by LAPD in South Central. Witnesses say he was running away. The department says otherwise. This is the word of a witness. He didn't have anything. Not a gun, not even a phone. They shot him in the back. An activist says, we are tired of the hashtag, tired of blood on the pavement. Protests began at City Hall, but quickly spread. By nightfall, a police cruiser was in flames. Businesses were looted on main roads. Downtown became a battleground. LAPD spokesperson said, our officers were overwhelmed. This wasn't a protest, it was a riot. Civil rights attorney says, no, this was the voice of a community, long ignored, now shouting to be heard. But this wasn't just about Marcus Bell. It was about housing injustice, police brutality, and the cost of living in Los Angeles skyrocketing beyond survival. A young woman in the protest says, we work 3 jobs and still can't eat. Then they kill us too. A historian came on board and said, what we are seeing is the intersection of economic and racial injustice. It's 1992 all over again. And in all those things, then came a tweet. Send in the guard, law and order must be restored. Proud of our men and women in uniform. Donald J. Trump, May 13, 2025. Donald Trump, recently re-elected in a Republican landscape, issued an executive order deploying the National Guard to Los Angeles. These are talks. We will not tolerate lawlessness. This ends now, as Donald Trump said in a clip. It was the first major use of federal forces on U.S. soil since the George Floyd protests. 1,200 National Guard troops entered Los Angeles under a cover of darkness. One Guard member said, we were told to expect resistance like we were going into combat. President said they brought tanks into my neighborhood for what? For yelling. Curfews were imposed, arrest soars, and yet the fire kept burning. On TV, America saw looters. On TikTok, they saw kids hanging out water and medics treating the injured. Don't believe what they are showing you. We are not terrorists. We are desperate, as influencers on TikTok are saying. This is what happens when you let woke culture root your city. The truth became a battleground, and Los Angeles was the front line. Mother of the boy, Marcus Bell, said, they killed my son, then they blame him. No justice, no peace, means something. This ain't just about the police, it's about how black and brown people are treated every day. In corruption, Eggwood, Watts, the people organized not just to protest, but to protect, to rebuild. By late May, God began withdrawing. The city was quiet, but wounded. Damage totaled $200 million, over 1,000 arrested, 6 lives lost. We must listen now. or this will happen again as city officials proclaim. Activists came on board. We don't want to burn things. We want to live. So those are the things that is currently happening in the United States of America. Drop your own opinion in the comment section. Thank you for watching this channel.